Ryland stared at the wreck floating in space. To anyone else, it looked like a useless heap of metal. Rusted panels, broken thrusters, and a hull full of holes made it clear that the ship had seen better days. But Ryland didn't see junk. He saw potential. With enough effort, he could turn this old thing into a tool for survival. Or maybe, just maybe, into something much bigger. He adjusted his helmet and floated closer to the derelict station orbiting a dead moon. The market here was unlike anything he had seen before. Ships of all shapes and sizes clung to the platforms, trading goods that ranged from rare minerals to strange alien devices. Ryland's heart beat fast. He had come to trade junk, but he hoped to find something valuable enough to change his luck. The marketplace was alive with noise. Aliens with long limbs and shimmering skin bargained loudly. Their voices strange, but clear enough for him to understand. Humans were rare here. Most were scavengers like him, looking for anything that could be sold or used. Ryland guided his small shuttle into a docking bay, his eyes scanning the crowd. Then, he saw her. She was enormous, taller than any human he had ever seen, and yet her movements were graceful. Her skin shimmered softly under the market lights, like polished stone. Her eyes were intelligent and curious, not angry or aggressive. She looked at the crowd with calm interest. The alien traders nearby noticed Ryland staring. One of them, a four-armed creature with amber skin, hissed at him. "Do you want her?" it asked, in broken common. "She is not cheap. She is not simple. She is—" The trader paused, unsure how to describe her. "She is valuable." Ryland swallowed. "I don't have credits. I only have this ship," he said, pointing toward the rusted wreck floating behind him. The trader raised one eyebrow. "You want to trade junk for the Giantess?" "Yes," Ryland said. He knew it was a crazy offer, but he had a feeling this could work. "She'll help me. I know she can carry heavy loads. She can help with the ship." The trader shook his head. "Dangerous," it muttered. "Still, maybe worth trying." Before Ryland could argue, another voice cut in. The Giantess herself spoke, her voice deep but melodic. "I will come," she said. Her gaze met Ryland's. There was no fear, no malice, only curiosity. "I will see this ship." The trader looked surprised but nodded. "Very well. If you insist, the deal is done." Ryland felt his pulse quicken. He had just traded everything he owned for a being of unimaginable size and intelligence. He wasn't sure if he was brave or foolish. Maybe both. The journey back to his wreck was tense. He guided his shuttle carefully, trying to ensure the Giantess would not be harmed by the narrow corridors of space stations and docking bays. She followed, moving with an elegance that defied her size. When she finally reached his ship, she tilted her head and studied it carefully. "This is your home?" she asked softly. Ryland nodded. "It's old, but I can fix it." She knelt beside the ship's open cargo bay, her massive hands brushing lightly over the walls. "It has potential," she said, almost to herself. "But much needs to change." Ryland swallowed nervously. He had never worked with someone this powerful before. If she decided he was foolish, she could crush the wreck, or him, without effort. Yet, she didn't. Instead, she studied the ship, running her long fingers along the panels, pressing buttons, and whispering numbers in a language Ryland didn't understand. Hours passed. Ryland watched in awe as she analyzed the ship. She corrected wiring that had been broken for decades, adjusted the thrusters, and even suggested ways to redistribute the weight of the cargo. Slowly, the wreck began to feel alive. It hummed with energy, as if it had waited for her touch to awaken. Ryland finally spoke. "I didn't know ships could feel like this," he said. She looked at him and smiled. "All things can be improved. All things can serve a purpose. This ship will serve yours." If you guide it well, it may carry more than just cargo. It may carry you through danger. Ryland felt a spark of hope. For months, he had scraped by, surviving on scraps and trades that barely kept him alive. Now, with her help, the wreck could become more than survival. It could become power. The first task was simple: move crates. Ryland had gathered supplies from previous scavenging trips, and Kalara, the Giantess's name, he learned lifted them effortlessly, even compressing the space around her so she could fit in the cargo bay. Ryland was stunned. She carried more in a single lift than he could in a week. But it wasn't just strength. She organized the cargo efficiently, reinforcing fragile containers and arranging them for balance. As the day passed, Ryland began to see her potential beyond simple labor. Her intelligence was extraordinary. She suggested modifications to the engines, explained ways to patch hull breaches quickly, and even gave advice on defensive strategies against raiders. Ryland realized that he hadn't just acquired muscle, he had acquired a partner. The night fell on the station, the distant stars casting silver light across the wreck and the marketplace. Ryland and Kalara sat near the cargo bay, talking quietly. He asked about her life, about her species, about why she had agreed to come with him. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the stars, her massive form casting a shadow over the wreck. "I have traveled far," she said finally. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have carried burdens heavier than this ship. But there is something different about you. About humans. You are small, fragile, and yet determined. That determination is rare. It is worth supporting." Ryland felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had been alone for so long, struggling just to survive. And now, here was someone who believed in him, not because of what he had, but because of who he was. The next day, they began working in earnest. Kalara's strength allowed them to replace the ship's main thruster. Her knowledge helped them reroute power through the failing systems, and her guidance transformed the cargo bay into a functional storage and command area. Ryland had never imagined a wreck could look like this. It was still old and battered, but it had purpose, and that purpose was growing. While they worked, Ryland noticed something remarkable. Kalara was learning too. She studied the human tools and methods, asking questions and trying to understand why humans did things differently. She didn't judge. She adapted. That adaptability gave Ryland confidence that together they could survive anything. By the end of the week, the wreck was unrecognizable. Panels that had hung loose now fit tightly. The engines purred instead of groaning. Even the small weapons he had scavenged were fitted and functional. The ship was still a far cry from a battleship, but for the first time, Ryland could imagine it fighting back. Kalara tested her strength further, moving massive crates and heavy equipment with ease. She laughed softly when Ryland struggled to lift a single crate, her voice booming and musical. "You are clever, but small," she said. Ryland smiled. "I've always known that. But having you here, it makes everything easier." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And yet, you are learning. You will become stronger. Together, we will carry more than crates. We may carry fate itself." Ryland didn't fully understand what she meant, but he didn't question it. He had learned to trust her instincts. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing. The wreck, once junk, was now alive, and with Kalara's help, it could become a force unlike anything the fringe sectors had ever seen. As the stars shimmered in the distance, Ryland stared at the wreck and smiled. It was no longer a symbol of poverty and failure. It was the beginning of something greater, and he wasn't afraid anymore. He had traded junk for a giantess, and in return, he had gained hope, strength, and a future. And for the first time, Rylan realized that in the vast emptiness of space, survival was not enough. Humans could thrive. Humans could dominate. Humans could rise. The wreck no longer felt like a heap of useless metal. With Kalara aboard, the ship hummed with potential. Every panel, every wire, every engine thruster had begun to respond to her careful adjustments. Rylan floated in the cargo bay, amazed at how her massive hands could bend metal, reroute circuits, and lift heavy components with precision. He had never worked with anyone like her before. She was not just strong, she was brilliant. "You need to recalibrate the engines," Kalara said, her voice calm and steady, as if she had been doing this for centuries. "The power flow is uneven. If you push the ship too hard, it may tear itself apart." Rylan nodded, following her instructions. He had learned more in a week with her than in years scavenging through broken ships. He tightened wires, checked thrusters, and patched small holes in the hull. Kalara moved beside him, lifting panels that would have taken him hours to shift alone. "Good," she said after a moment, stepping back to examine the engines. "Now we can test propulsion." Rylan's hands shook with excitement. He had never imagined that his little wreck could actually move like a functioning ship again. He activated the engines slowly, holding his breath. The ship rumbled, metal groaning and hissing, and then it glided smoothly through space, as if it had remembered what it meant to be alive. "It's working," Rylan whispered, unable to hide his awe. Kalara smiled, her huge frame leaning against the side of the cargo bay. "It is more than working. It can do more than you imagine. But it will need defenses. You cannot survive long in the fringe sectors with only engines and a hull." Rylan's mind raced. He had always avoided fights when possible, relying on speed and stealth. But Kalara was right. With a ship that could move, they could run, but survival wasn't enough. If they wanted freedom, they would need power. Over the next few days, Kalara began transforming the wreck into something unimaginable. She used parts Rylan had thought were useless scrap metal, broken weapons, old containers, and converted them into reinforced panels, energy conduits, and weapon mounts. She rearranged the cargo bay to hold more than crates. It became a central command area, where Rylan could pilot and organize supplies efficiently. "Everything has a purpose," Kalara explained as she worked, lifting a massive hull section with ease. "Even broken things can become strong. Even fragile things can carry weight, if guided properly." Rylan realized that her lesson applied not just to ships, but to humans too. He had always believed that scavengers were weak, doomed to die among the stars. But here she was, showing him that adaptation and intelligence mattered more than raw size or resources. The first test of her modifications came sooner than expected. Rylan was scanning the sector for supplies when his sensors detected movement. Multiple ships, fast and aggressive, approaching their position. Pirates, raiders, the type of people who would attack for a scrap of metal or a few old credits. Rylan's heart sank. His little wreck was still fragile compared to real pirate ships. But Kalara did not panic. She crouched beside him, examining the controls with ease. "Do not fear," she said. "This ship is more than it seems. Trust me, and it will respond." The pirate ships closed in, their weapons charging. Rylan gripped the controls, adrenaline pumping. "Kalara, can we fight them?" Her massive hands rested on the side of the control area, fingers brushing the walls. "We can, but we must use strategy, not brute force. Follow my lead." Rylan nodded. He had no other choice. He adjusted the thrusters according to her instructions. The ship lifted into a higher orbit, taking advantage of the gravitational pull of the nearby moon. Kalara used her size to shift the center of mass, making the ship more stable and agile than it should have been. The pirates fired first. Lasers and plasma blasts streaked past the wreck, ripping metal and smoke into the vacuum of space. But Kalara anticipated every move. She rotated the engines, redirected power to the shields, and activated the hidden weapon mounts she had built from scrap. "Now, Rylan," she commanded. Rylan pressed the buttons she indicated. Hidden turrets emerged from the sides, firing precise shots at the pirate ships. The wreck that had once been a junk heap now returned fire with deadly accuracy. One of the pirate ships miscalculated its maneuver and collided with space debris. Another was forced into evasive action. Rylan's mouth went dry. I can't believe this. It's fighting back." Kalara's eyes gleamed. "It is not the ship that fights. It is the mind guiding it. Intelligence is more powerful than weapons alone. Remember that." Quote, the battle was intense. Rylan maneuvered the ship while Kalara coordinated defenses, lifting sections of the hull to protect weak points, rerouting energy to damaged shields, and even using her massive arms to push debris as improvised weapons. The pirates had expected an easy target, but they had underestimated the combination of human ingenuity and alien strength. After what felt like hours, though it was only minutes, the pirate ships retreated. Rylan floated in shock, looking at the wreck around him. Panels were scorched, but the ship was intact. Systems hummed. Weapons were ready. And Kalara, she looked calm, almost serene. "You see?" she said. "Even the weak can become formidable when guided wisely. You do not need strength alone." "Eight, wary never." Rylan let out a shaky laugh. I think I understand now. This ship, this wreck, it's alive because of you. Because of us." Kalara smiled, a soft, rare expression. "It will grow stronger. And so will you." In the days that followed, Rylan and Kalara focused on further improvements. They scavenged nearby wrecks, retrieving engines, shields, and weapons. Kalara lifted massive cargo containers as if they were toys, fitting engines into the hull and reinforcing areas Rylan never thought could be fixed. Slowly, the wreck transformed into a battleship of sorts, a strange hybrid of human ingenuity and alien engineering. Rylan marveled at her abilities. She could lift, build, and calculate faster than any machine he had ever used. Yet, she listened to him. She valued his input, adapted to his methods, and encouraged him to make decisions. For the first time, Rylan felt like he had a true partner in the vast emptiness of space. But survival was never just about building. It was about knowing who was coming next. Kalara had taught him more than construction. She had taught him observation. They watched the sector carefully, learning pirate patterns, identifying safe routes, and discovering trade opportunities. One evening, as the stars stretched endlessly around them, Kalara lifted Rylan into the cargo bay to show him something. Using her immense strength, she had arranged the engines and thrusters so that the ship could perform maneuvers no other human ship could. "You see, Rylan," she said, "speed and strategy can be more important than armor. A clever mind is the deadliest weapon." Rylan nodded. He could see it now. The wreck wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol of what humans could do when combined with intelligence, courage, and cooperation. They were no longer scavengers hiding in the shadows. They were builders, fighters, and survivors with a purpose. The real test, however, lay ahead. Kalara had begun to sense larger threats, organized fleets moving through the sector, likely looking for scavengers to plunder. Rylan realized that this was no longer about surviving. It was about proving that humanity, with allies and strategy, could stand against forces far stronger than itself. "You have changed this wreck," Rylan said quietly, watching her lift a massive engine into place. "You've changed everything." Kalara paused, her massive form framed by the stars outside. "No. You have changed everything. I only guided. Humans have a fire, a determination that cannot be measured. It is what makes you formidable. Remember this, Rylan. The ship is strong, but you are stronger. Rylan looked at the wreck. He saw a battleship beginning to take shape, yes. But he also saw humanity's spirit reflected in every panel, every engine, every weapon mount. He understood now that strength wasn't just metal or firepower. It was creativity, courage, and the will to rise. And rising they would. With Kalara at his side, Rylan prepared for the challenges ahead. The wreck was no longer a simple ship. It was alive. It was dangerous. And it was ready. Together, they would face whatever the fringe sectors could throw at them. Together, they would prove that even in the darkest reaches of space, humans could shine brighter than any star. The ship glimmered under the distant starlight. Engines humming, weapons ready, and Kaelara's massive shadow stretching across the deck. Rylan smiled, gripping the controls with confidence. He knew this was only the beginning. The wreck had awakened. Humanity had awakened. And their story was just starting. The calm of space was deceptive. Rylan and Kaelara had spent weeks reinforcing the wreck, upgrading engines, and installing weapons. Yet in the fringe sectors, danger was never far. Their sensors suddenly blared, warning of approaching ships. Rylan's stomach tightened. It was a pirate fleet, larger and faster than anything he had faced before. Kaelara didn't flinch. She stepped beside him, her massive form almost filling the control room. "Stay calm," she said. "We will not run blindly. This ship is strong, but it is clever. Use your mind." Rylan nodded, though fear still twisted inside him. He had never fought anything this large before. But Kaelara's confidence steadied him. Together, they moved to the bridge, ready to test the wreck in combat. The pirates came into view, sleek, armed vessels moving in formation. Their numbers were intimidating, and their weapons glinted as they charged. "They will fire on sight," Kaelara warned. "Prepare yourself." Rylan gripped the controls, activating the shields she had helped him install. The wreck groaned as power surged through the engines and armor. For a moment, he imagined the ship breaking apart, but Kaelara's presence reassured him. She had transformed this scrap into something formidable. The first salvo of pirate lasers struck the wreck. Sparks flew, metal hissed, and alarms screamed. But Kaelara had already anticipated this. She raised her massive arms, pressing against parts of the hull to reinforce weak points, while rerouting energy to the shields. The ship shuddered, but did not break. "Return fire," Kaelara commanded. Rylan activated the hidden turrets she had installed. Metal plates shifted, weapons emerged, and energy beams shot at the pirate ships. The fleet faltered, surprised by the accuracy of their target. A smaller pirate ship collided with space debris, destroyed before it could escape. Another narrowly dodged a plasma blast, aimed precisely by the wreck's automated weapons. Rylan's heart raced. "It's working. It's actually working," Kaelara nodded. "Yes, but this is only the start. They are numerous. You must think ahead. Speed and strategy are stronger than mere firepower." Rylan followed her lead, adjusting the thrusters to shift the ship into a higher orbit around a nearby asteroid. Kaelara moved inside the cargo bay, using her immense strength to lift and rotate sections of the hull, to block incoming fire, and protect vulnerable systems. The wreck moved as if alive, dodging, spinning, and firing in coordinated bursts. The pirates were skilled, but they underestimated Rylan's cunning and Kaelara's power. One ship attempted a flank maneuver. Kaelara grabbed a massive panel and swung it outward, creating a barrier that forced the pirate vessel off course. Another ship approached from behind. Rylan fired a hidden missile launcher Kaelara had installed, and the attack disabled its engines. "Keep going," Kaylara shouted. Do not tire. Think like they cannot. Ryland felt a surge of courage. With her guidance, he realized that survival was not just about running or hiding. It was about using intelligence, observation, and quick thinking. Together, they were unpredictable. Minutes felt like hours. Lasers streaked across space. Explosions lit the darkness, and debris floated around them. Yet the wreck held strong. Every movement, every adjustment, was guided by Kaylara's knowledge and Ryland's human ingenuity. The ship dodged, blocked, and struck with precision. One pirate ship attempted a direct ram. Ryland barely dodged, but Kaylara was ready. She grabbed a massive container from the cargo bay and hurled it toward the pirate vessel. The impact caused the ship to spin out of control, its hull cracking. Another pirate vessel tried to retreat, only to be trapped by a net of floating debris Kaylara had strategically placed. Ryland's adrenaline surged. I can't believe it. We're winning. Kaylara's eyes glimmered. We are not just winning. We are proving a point. Even the weak can stand against the strong when they are clever and determined. The pirates, realizing their superior numbers were ineffective, attempted to flee. Ryland pursued, guided by Kaylara. With the wreck's speed and agility, they cut off escape routes. One by one, the pirate ships surrendered or were forced to retreat. The sector was silent again, save for the hum of the wreck's engines and the faint crackle of minor damages. Ryland floated in awe, looking at the ship around him. The wreck that had been a junk heap was now a true battleship. Panels were reinforced, engines glowed with power, weapons gleamed, and shields held strong. It was still far from perfect, but it had proven itself in battle. Kaylara leaned against the wall, massive arms crossed. This is only the beginning, she said. Many more challenges await. But you have learned something crucial. Fear is temporary. Intelligence, courage, and cooperation last. Ryland smiled, still catching his breath. I understand now. It's not just the ship. It's us. Together, we can do anything. They spent the following days repairing minor damages and improving the ship further. Kaylara had begun reinforcing the hull with layered alloys she scavenged, increasing agility while maintaining strength. Ryland added modifications, she suggested, creating new energy conduits, enhancing thrusters, and installing sensors to detect threats earlier. While they worked, Kaylara shared stories of her species. They had once been explorers, guardians of distant sectors, valuing strength and intelligence in equal measure. They had faced challenges far beyond human imagination. But Kaylara had seen promise in humans. Their determination, creativity, and ability to adapt. Ryland listened closely. I never thought humans could seem remarkable to anyone outside our race, he admitted. We feel small, weak, always scraping to survive. Kaylara's gaze was steady. You underestimate yourselves. Strength is not only muscle, strategy, courage, innovation. They are all forms of power. Humans possess them in abundance. That is why I chose to help you. Ryland felt a warmth in his chest. In the endless void of space, trust and friendship were rare. Yet Kaylara had become more than an ally. She had become a teacher, a protector, and a companion. As the wreck recovered from battle, Ryland began plotting their next move. The pirate fleet was scattered, but word would spread. Other threats would come, likely stronger and more numerous. Yet now, Ryland had confidence. He had Kaylara's strength, his own ingenuity, and a ship that could defend itself against formidable foes. One evening, they floated near a dense asteroid field, scanning for supplies. Kaylara moved carefully, her massive arms lifting massive chunks of rock to create shields or block hazardous debris. We must prepare for the unknown, she said. Pirates, rival factions, natural hazards, all will test you. But do not fear. The wreck is strong. You are strong. Together, nothing can stop you. Rylan nodded. He realized that survival alone was no longer enough. They could thrive, explore, and shape their destiny. The wreck was no longer just a vehicle, it was a symbol of human ingenuity, guided by courage and strengthened by alliance. Days turned into weeks. The wreck became a true battleship, not because of size or firepower alone, but because of the combination of Rylan's cleverness and Kalara's strength. They had learned to predict enemy movements, defend strategically, and strike with precision. What had started as a scrap heap now inspired awe even in Rylan himself. Finally, Rylan looked at Kalara one quiet evening. "Do you think we're ready?" he asked. She smiled, her massive form towering over him. "Ready is a relative term. But you have learned. The ship has learned. Together, you can face whatever comes. The sector may challenge you, but you will not falter." Rylan nodded, determination burning in his chest. He had once believed the fringe sectors were full of threats, too strong for humans to face. Now, he knew differently. With Kalara and the wreck, they could overcome anything. The stars stretched endlessly around them, silent witnesses to the transformation. The wreck, once a simple junk ship, now glimmered with purpose. Rylan and Kalara had faced fire and emerged victorious. And this was only the beginning. Whatever awaited them beyond the next jump, whatever fleets or dangers the fringe sectors held, they would face them together. The wreck had become more than metal, and circuits, it had become a testament to human courage and intelligence. Guided by a giant who saw potential where others saw weakness, Rylan gripped the controls. Kalara adjusted the engines beside him, and together, they prepared to venture deeper into the unknown, ready for the trials yet to come. The battle had proven it. Humans were clever. Humans were resilient. Humans, with the right guidance and determination, could turn even a junk heap into a force to be reckoned with. And they would not stop. The wreck was no longer a simple ship. It was a symbol of transformation, a vessel of hope, and a testament to human ingenuity. Its once rusted hull now gleamed with reinforced panels, energy conduits pulsed along the sides, and weapons installed from scavenged parts bristled like mechanical claws. Rylan had never imagined that his old junk heap could become something so powerful. Kalara stood beside him on the bridge, her massive frame almost filling the space. Her presence was both comforting and awe-inspiring. "We have come far," she said softly. "But the journey ahead will test you more than anything you have faced." Rylan nodded. He had faced pirates and survived. But Kalara was right. The fringe sectors held dangers far greater than isolated raiders. Rival factions, rogue fleets, and even environmental hazards like asteroid storms awaited them. And yet, he felt no fear. The wreck had proven itself in battle. He had Kalara's guidance. Together, they could overcome almost anything. Their next challenge came unexpectedly. Sensors picked up a massive fleet approaching from the dark side of a nearby star. This was no pirate skirmish. These ships were organized, heavily armed, and clearly searching for something or someone. Rylan's heart sank for a moment. But Kalara remained calm. "They will test us," she said. "But we are ready." The wreck moved smoothly through space, engines humming with renewed strength. Kalara had enhanced the thrusters, enabling maneuvers that Rylan could barely control. Yet somehow, guided by her instinct, he piloted with precision. As the fleet drew closer, he saw that they were not just hunters, they were a small armada, capable of devastating destruction. The first shots were fired. Massive energy beams streaked through space, lighting up the darkness. The wreck shuddered under impact, but Kalara had prepared it well. She used her immense strength to reinforce sections of the hull that were weakened by the blasts. Shields flared, absorbing energy that would have shattered any ordinary ship. "Now, Rylan," Kalara commanded. "We will not retreat. We will fight smart, strike hard, and make them regret underestimating us." Rylan activated the weapons Kalara had installed. Plasma cannons extended from hidden compartments, turrets rotated with precision, and energy projectiles streaked toward the approaching fleet. One of the enemy ships miscalculated its trajectory. Colliding with debris Kalara had strategically positioned. Another ship faltered under a precise missile strike. The battle was intense. Rylan maneuvered the wreck with skill, dodging blasts while maintaining offensive pressure. Kalara coordinated the defenses, lifting massive panels to protect the engines and rerouting energy to critical systems. Every move was calculated, every strike effective. "Remember," Kalara said, her voice calm amid the chaos. "Strength alone does not win. Cleverness and courage do. Use your mind." Rylan nodded, focusing intently. He guided the wreck through asteroid fields, using them as cover while luring enemy ships into traps. Kalara moved sections of the hull to block fire and create barriers. Together, they turned the battle into a dance of precision and strategy. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The enemy fleet, confident at first, began to falter. Their numbers counted for little against the wreck's agility, Kalara's strength, and Rylan's cunning. One by one, enemy ships were disabled or forced to retreat. The wreck had become a force to be reckoned with, a true battleship in every sense. When the last of the fleet withdrew, silence fell over the sector. Rylan and Kalara floated among the wreckage, engines humming softly. The wreck had survived, stronger than ever. Rylan's chest swelled with pride. He had faced near impossible odds and won. But he knew this was just the beginning. "We have proven ourselves," Kalara said. "But the frontier is vast. There are worlds uncharted, civilizations unknown, and challenges yet to come. The question is, what will you do with this strength?" Rylan looked at the wreck, at Kalara, and at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "We will explore, we will protect, we will build. Humans can thrive in the stars, not just survive. And with you by my side, we can do it together." Kalara's eyes softened. "That is the spirit I sensed in you from the start. Determination, courage, and cleverness. These are qualities that endure. With them, you can shape your destiny." In the weeks that followed, Rylan and Kalara traveled the fringe sectors, searching for supplies, allies, and knowledge. The wreck continued to evolve. Kalara's enhancements turned it into a fully operational battleship, capable of long journeys, fast maneuvers, and defensive strategies that rivaled any organized fleet. Rylan learned to anticipate threats, to think ahead, and to trust both his instincts and Kalara's guidance. They encountered small colonies under threat, pirate bands preying on helpless traders, and dangerous celestial phenomena. Each time, the wreck proved its strength, and Rylan proved his cunning. Kalara's presence made him more confident, more daring, and more willing to face the unknown. Together, they became legends in the sector, known as the ship that could survive anything and the Giantess who guided it. One day, they discovered a planet rich in resources, but controlled by a ruthless faction. The faction's patrols were strong, but Rylan and Kalara had learned well. They devised a plan, using the wreck's agility and Kalara's strength to avoid detection, disable defenses, and reclaim the planet's resources for peaceful settlers. When they succeeded, Rylan felt a new sense of purpose. The wreck was not just a battleship, it was a tool for justice, exploration, and hope. Humans, often seen as fragile and weak, were proving themselves capable of shaping the galaxy when cleverness, courage, and strength were combined. Kalara stood on the bridge, looking out at the horizon. "You see now," she said. "Humans are more than survivors. You are builders, thinkers, and fighters. With determination, even the smallest can overcome the greatest challenges." Rylan smiled. "I never imagined this journey would take us so far. But with you, Kalara, I know we can face anything." The giantess nodded. "And that is the lesson I have learned as well. Strength is valuable, but it is guidance, courage, and partnership that make it powerful. Together, we are unstoppable." The wreck continued its journey through the stars, faster, stronger, and wiser with each passing day. Rylan and Kalara charted new territories, encountered civilizations that had never seen humans, and faced challenges that would have seemed impossible months ago. The wreck, once a simple heap of junk, had become a battleship of legend, capable of carrying humans into the farthest reaches of space. But it was more than a ship. It was a symbol. A symbol that humans could rise above adversity, that ingenuity could overcome limitations, and that courage, when combined with guidance and determination, could turn even the smallest scrap into something extraordinary. One evening, as they floated near a nebula that shimmered with colors unseen by human eyes, Rylan turned to Kalara. "Do you think others will believe what we've done?" She smiled, massive hands resting on the railing. "It is not necessary for them to believe. What matters is that you know the truth. Humans are capable of greatness. And now, you have the proof." Rylan looked at the wreck, now glowing softly in the nebula's light. Every panel, every engine, every weapon, bore witness to their journey. He realized that this was just the beginning of humanity's story in the stars. "We will continue," he said quietly. "We will explore, protect, and grow. The frontier is ours to shape." Kalara nodded. "Yes, and together, we will ensure that humanity thrives. This ship will carry more than cargo. It will carry hope, courage, and the spirit of your kind into every corner of the galaxy." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Rylan felt a sense of peace he had never known. He had traded junk for a giantess, and in return, he had gained strength, guidance, and the power to shape the future. The wreck, once lifeless, now carried the legacy of humanity across the stars. And as they sailed into the unknown, Rylan knew one truth above all. Humans were not just survivors, they were creators, warriors, and explorers. With courage, intelligence, and determination, nothing could stop them. The wreck had awakened. Humanity had awakened. And together, they would conquer the new frontier.